Let's show some love for Undesirable Elements.
(1660), Barbados. The worldwide demand for sugar explodes. Barbados, that's where I'm from, became the first British colony to import slaves to large sugar plantations in the Caribbean.
British plantation owners made massive fortunes in the trade of African human beings who were considered property. Slaves were treated like objects instead of people, a source of forced, cheap labor.
We built the great cities of
London, Liverpool, Bristol.
Modern Britain was built on the profit from the labor and blood of slaves cutting sugar cane in the Caribbean. America's rise in power would not have been possible without slavery.
1773. The value of British imports to Grenada is worth 8 times more than from Canada. Liverpool and Bristol were both estimated to make net profit of £12 million from the slave trade. We in Grenada have very valuable things. We have so much nutmeg, the national spice of our flag. We have a lot of bamboo but don't do anything with it. And today our coffee trees have died out. How can we go from having so much riches and finances to being poor and in debt today?
Shelby County, Alabama. That's where my mom is from, Alabama. 45 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, a black man named Green Cottonham is arrested for
vagrancy.
That means they stopped him outside the train station, and he couldn't prove that he had a job. In those days, you could go to jail if
you changed employers without permission.
You're riding the train without a ticket.
You're engaging in loud talk with a white woman.
Undesirable elements. Guilty.
Green Cottonham got 30 days hard labor for vagrancy, for not being able to prove he had a job. He had to pay fees
to the sheriff,
to the deputy court clerk,
to the witnesses.
He had no money to pay for all these fees, and for this, his sentence was extended to 1 year of hard labor.
The next day, he was
sold
by the county government to the Tennessee Coal and Iron Railroad Company to serve the remainder of his sentence.
Mr. Cottonham, we will pay $2 a month to pay off your fines and fees.
This is how the state and county government bought and sold black men.
how they leased them, how they got cheap, forced labor without pay.
But they could not prove that these men committed an act of crime when they were arrested.
Undesirable elements.
You know that today, if you get stopped by a cop, you should know your Fourth Amendment.
You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to refuse to answer questions.
The founding fathers of our country wanted to prevent arbitrary stop and searches.
Baltimore, Maryland. Thurgood Marshall's grandmother, Annie Williams, has a grocery store.
We have to put up a utility pole here.
The electric company of Baltimore wants to put up a utility pole on the sidewalk in front of Annie Williams' grocery store.
This is our grocery store. This sidewalk belongs to me and my husband. We don't want a pole in the middle of it.
We have a court order to install the pole.
I dare you to touch me. I paid for the sidewalk. No damn body has the right to stick a pole in the middle of it. I'll sit here any day.
Find another site for your utility pole!
Years later, Annie Williams' grandson, Rowdy Thurgood Marshall, learned the law after getting into a lot of trouble in school.
His punishment each time he misbehaved was,
Read the Constitution!
He got to know it really well and eventually became the first African-American judge on the Supreme Court.
he said of his grandmother,
Grandma Annie emerged as the victor of what may have been the first successful sit-down strike in Maryland.
years later, Thurgood Marshall pioneered a test to test the self-esteem of African-American children.
Segregation had caused children to undergo an effect of inferiority and self-hatred, something that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. When they're asked, which doll do you think is prettier?
The black doll or the white doll?
The black children chose the white doll.
Undesirable elements.
This was the first time that psychological evidence was admitted in a civil rights case. In court, the judge asked the specialist,
So, Dr. Clark, the dolls are identical apart from skin tone?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
Intriguing.
Ping Pong es un muñeco.
Ping Pong is a doll.
Muy grande de cartón.
A doll with a big heart.
se lava la carita con agua y con jabón.
They wash her face with soap and water.
Se desenreda el pelo con peine de marfil.
And untangle her hair with a brush.
Por más que se las tira, no llora ni dice au.
And when they pull her hair, she doesn't say
Ouch! Ping Pong, dame la mano con un fuerte apretón.
Ping Pong, give me a hand with a very big squeeze.
¿Que quieres ser tu amiga?
I want to be your friend.
The Supreme Court declares that separation in schools is inherently unequal. Thurgood Marshall wins the landmark case.
But for 10 years, virtually nothing happened in the Southern states. Thurgood Marshall worked through the courts to get rid of the legacy of slavery and the racist segregation system of Jim Crow. But it was not enough.
We may have won this case, but we haven't begun yet. If we act as one, we can make a change.
Togo. My mother is 6 years old. She can't go to school because she has to take care of her aunt's kids. So they grew up and were able to go to school. In my country, people usually have someone to take care of babies and do household chores if they can find a family relative. So my mom didn't even get to finish first grade. So when she grew up and came to America, she had trouble filling out job applications or going to the hospital by herself because of her lack of education. My mother inspires me to work hard in school and get the education she wasn't able to get and take advantage of the opportunities she didn't have. Because of this, she is very strict about us, her children, getting an education. That's why she never lets us stay home, miss a day of school, or get a bad grade. After work, she went to school, and later on, she managed to pass her American citizenship all by herself. It's because of her that I work hard in school so that I can make her proud. Last summer, I had the opportunity to travel to Bosnia with Global Kids and stay with a host family. We all share the same love in music. Even though we didn't speak the same language, we didn't feel like strangers at all because we share the same love of music. Milos koja sve vodi nas daje snagu i mir. Ožiwiela je život mój, bilac lep, a sa da vidim.
(1972). Title IX is signed into law, giving girls and women equal opportunity to compete in sports. This means a lot to me because I played wrestling and tennis.
1984, Compton, California. Venus William is 4 years old. Her father, Richard William, a former sharecropper, tries to clean up the gang-infested public tennis school of Compton, California, so he can teach his daughters to play tennis.
Drug dealers beat him up as bullets fly overhead, but he just kept coming back.
I wanted to expose my daughters to the ugly possibilities to life if they did not work hard and get an education.
Sadly, gangs were not the only obstacle.
She's not trained to play the games in the way ladies should be trained.
She didn't come up through the right circuits. She grunts. She doesn't have the right friends.
She doesn't wear the right clothes.
She doesn't have the right education.
Undesirable elements.
Venus Williams and her sister Serena became two of the world's greatest players, but there are other battles off the court.
Tennis champion Billie Jean King, who also grew up on the public courts of Compton, made a point of talking to players about the history of women's tennis. Financial and otherwise, she fought for equality for women.
1998, England. Venus Williams is 18 years old. She goes on the record after her first round match at Wimbledon.
I think in the Grand Slam events, it should be equal pay. And I think the ladies should do something about it instead of just accepting it for years to come.
Equal prize money.
I want to see it in my lifetime. It's an important principle for me.
2015, England. On the eve of her victory, Venus Williams walked into the All England Club boardroom and tried to shame the old boys into awarding an equal amount of prize money to men and women champions.
Close your eyes. The club has relegated women to second-class status, which means women get equal billing as men. This creates equal value for the tournament.
Facing match point at Wimbledon was a lot easier than walking into a boardroom and speaking the truth. It did not work. It was not enough.
There's no reason for a change.
Men's best of 5 sets are longer. They should be compensated at a higher rate.
Caucus, we need a more aggressive strategy.
Men and women should compete on equal terms and be rewarded on equal terms, whether it be on the tennis court, the shop floor, in the office, or anywhere else.
Wimbledon seems to have got stuck several decades back in the last century, when it was just taken for granted that women were the junior partners to men, that they were rewarded less, and that their work was less valuable than men's work.
We don't accept that in law for employees. We challenge it where we find it.
Wimbledon is flaunting a principle that is entrenched in our country's laws.
Undesirable elements.
2006, England. Venus Williams even lobbied the British Parliament, and it did not work. Finally, she writes an opted piece, which is published by the newspaper, The Times of London.
I believe that athletes, especially female athletes, in world's leading sports for females, should serve as role models. The message I'd like to convey to girls and women out there is that there's no glass ceiling. My fears at Wimbledon is clearly and loudly sending the opposite message. I intend to keep doing everything I could until Julie Bean's right for equality is made real.
2007, Venus Williams becomes the first woman champion to earn exactly the same as a man, matching Roger Federer's $1.4 million.
So many people came together for this to happen. More than anything, I feel like it was a great thing to be part of a team that was able to succeed doing the right thing.
One of the greatest things I could have taught my daughters was to love themselves, and they really, really did.
Oh, isn't she alive? Oh, isn't she wonderful? Isn't she precious? Less than 1 minute old.
2011, New York. I am 14 years old. My mom is crying all the time because she and my dad finally separate. They had their biggest fight and they've had enough. Turns out my dad had been beating my mom all these years. He'd work Monday to Saturday, then get drunk and sleep all day Sunday. Just like his dad, my grandpa, a macho man. In the poor old days in Puebla, Mexico, the ladies, our grandmothers, worked hard and did all they could to give us what we needed. The grandfathers would come home, ask,
"Where's my money?"
and go out and spend it all. They'd go out with the guys, beat the kids if they thought they did something wrong, and take their wives' jewelries to give it to their mistresses. But finally, it was over. I was the one to kick my dad out of my house. My mom said,
"Try to be on good terms with your dad. If anything should happen to him, you want to forgive him."
At first, it was hard to forgive my dad, and I couldn't understand how my mom, being treated so badly by him, was the one telling me to forgive him. I thought she would want justice, and then I realized sometimes justice means accepting a person's errors and finding a middle ground to bring peace. In the end, I forgave my dad. When the whole thing happened and my parents split up, I had to make sure my mom and my sister were happy. But then I thought, what am I doing to make myself happy? I have to at least try something. I always say, I'm gonna try new things, and I never do them. This time I went for it. I joined the group and started to learn traditional dances from Mexico. See, every state has its own set of dances and costumes. My mom comes with me to every practice.
I love to go support her. I do her hair and help her get dressed for every performance.
She's always there for me, and through this I got closer to her. She's even here in the audience right now. It makes me feel proud of myself to learn about the beauty of where my parents came from. I've gotten to learn so much more about my country, to the point where I feel I can call myself a true Mexican now. The great traditions I'm learning have been a way to keep me from sadness and look forward to something.
Mount Everest, Nepal. I am 13 years old. I win a lottery ticket on a TV show and get to ride in a plane for the first time to see the highest peaks in the world. They are in my country, Nepal. The airplane is small and everyone has a window seat. And the pilot, he points out where the highest and the second highest peaks are. Nepal is in between India and China, and we have to be peaceful to both of them. It is the birthplace of Lord Buddha, and also where he got his enlightenment. And we have such diversity of cultures in my tiny country, 74 known cultures, and each ethnic group has a different language, food, dress, architecture, festivals, all year long. We only have 3 hours of electricity a day, yet we use lights, batteries, generators, solar powers, etc. We are the world's second richest country in water resources, yet we don't have a lot of access to it because they have problems sending it to our houses. So when I come to a rich country like this, where there is sufficient for everyone. I wonder why people would rather waste stuff than give it to others. For kids who aren't sure where their next meal is coming from, for whom education is still really, really far, there is enough in this country to go around. So don't be wasting what you have. वैष्णव जन तो तेने कही जे पीर पराई जानी रे वैष्णव जन तो तेने कही जे पीर पराई जानी रे पर दुखी उपकार करे कोई पर दुखी उपकार करे कोई वो अभिमान ना आनी रे वैष्णव जन तो
2014, Chibok, Nigeria. That's my country. More than 200 schoolgirls are kidnapped by Boko Haram, which means
Western education is forbidden.
the Boko Haram group promotes a vision for Islam, which makes it forbidden for Muslims to do Western things, like voting, wearing shirts or pants, and even non-religious education.
I thought this piece of news was mind-blowing, but had no one's attention. I am from Africa, Ghana specifically. And no, we do not all carry buckets of water on our heads. And I don't have a pet lion, so stop asking me that. I want my music to impact the change in the world. And I want to implement the specific ways people see Africa. Because if we truly work as one, we can make a change. If we work as one, we can make a change. We can try to save the human race. We can live to see another day. If we lend a hand, we can make a friend. Oh, our fairy tale will never end, and our lives will never have to bend. We can make a change, you can make a change, we can make a change, we can make a change, we can make a change. There are people on the streets, never have enough to eat, no shoes on their feet. I know your soul is getting weak, but every day and every moment we're just passing by. We can't seem to figure out why our children cry. Oh, why our children cry. So let's stand up, everybody hands up. Help your fellow man know we can make a change. So let's stand up, everybody hands up. Help your fellow man know we can make a change. There are people on the streets, never have enough to eat, no shoes on their feet. Oh, I know your soul is getting weak. There are people on the streets, never have enough to eat, no shoes on their feet. I know your soul is getting weak. stand up, everybody hands up. Help your fellow man know we can make a change.
Ferguson, Missouri.
Write those tickets. We gotta raise some cash.
More tickets, more fines.
Hit those ticket quotas. See how many citations you can get at that traffic light.
Pedestrian check.
Identification. Traffic stop.
Ticket.
Ticket. Jaywalking. Hand down. Car search.
Citation.
Citation. Visa service. Failure to comply.
Violation.
Resisting arrest.
Fine.
Failure to comply.
Fine.
Fees. Penalties.
Fine.
Fees.
Penalties.
Fine.
Fees.
Penalties.
Fine.
And it all goes up if you miss a payment.
In cities across the United States, like Ferguson, Missouri, the police make money with every arrest, ticket, and citation. Profit comes before people, the law, or public safety. 9 out of 10 are African American men and are given violations for manner of walking, peace disturbance, and failure to comply.
2015. Today, more money goes to the prison systems than to schools. If this continues, 1 in 3 colored men will spend time in jail. The mass incarcerations of blacks echoes, which treated us as objects for profit and not as human beings.
Which kept us in low-paying jobs.
We need all hands to change the laws that marginalize and criminalize our youth and keep them from
Voting. Jobs. Housing. Education.
and full democratic participation.
C'est pas ça nous devait, c'est pas ça nous cherché. Avant de quitter colon, avant nous mentir toujours. Yo dit si casse job, nous connaissons pas jambe. Yo peine quitter l'argent, pour nous mener la lutte. Allez quitter l'amour. Depuis petit n'a pas ici, vous m'avez mouru dans la vie, mais nous pas jamais que me la couche souffrir. Oh Lord, pour qui c'est nous qui souffrir? ke bam.
This is family.
Nou makate si te sole.
This is family.
Féministe la pot kolera.
This is family.
Si ta tou patou.
This is family.
Beaucoup ferai quand.
This is family. This is family. This is family. This is family. This is family.
This is what I'm feeling, oh Lord.
This is family.
This is what I'm feeling, oh Lord.
This is family.
Somebody say, yeah, yeah.
This is family.
Yeah, yeah.
This is family.
This is my baby.
This is family.
This is my baby.
This is family.
Insert the power course my energy can flow. Automatic, acrobatic, diplomatic, even my static is Asiatic. Breaking the cords of social injustice, revolutionary tactics, a 911 call for the paramedics, the black family in crisis. We need help, but not ISIS. Microphone fantastic alone, make my energy transform. Assert myself to alert to the grim reality that America is still not a land for the free. This is some bourgeoisie hypocrisy. Systems are in place to keep those who are blind, forever blinded by a revolving system of poverty and crime. We fight, can't unite. Yeah, we spend more money on Jordans and Tins, but this computation is grim. Yeah, we put less in our savings. Barclays Center, just another system of gentrification. Another domain selection. Even harder than Katrina or blah, blah. Brothers incarcerated, locked up in a penal cemetery. The mind, body, soul, lost alone with their human will. The industrial complex, a new Jim Crow strategy. Build more prisons and close more inner city schools. A plow for a fool. Your Common Core curriculum is just another set of system rules. A tool to divide. A tool to cause racial genocide. So that you can turn around and say, they can't learn anyway. Math, science, and technology came from us. Or ask King Tut, is he too lying in the rut? Then ask Pythagoras, and he'll tell you that he was educated in our schools in Timbuktu. They show you Shaka Zulu, this savage imagery to belittle your intellectual superiority. A man's game. Insane. What a shame. You denote me from who I truly should be. Why don't you teach me more about my true history? Manipulation and lies, so I build hatred from inside. Antagonize and label the ghetto child. Your goal is clearly to barricade me, but you cannot stop me from being who I really want to be. Fear that in pursuit, then I will know how greatly I really am and can be. I am eloquent. I am benevolent. I tower high and stand tall. I am not a reject, but an object of grace and joy. You can't rate me on my altitude, platitude, or vestibule of inner superiority, for I've always been a threat. Work so hard up to sunset, strategizing for every test. I won't compromise my morality or I won't compromise my morality or spirituality for some jacked up philosophy. I'm faith, which believes in things that is yet to be manifested in me. Today, the Creator is speaking to my subconscious reality. Today, we are breaking all psychological, economical, physical, and spiritual bonds of captivity that limits you and me from being all that we can be. I see myself in the image of the Creator has made me, liberated and free. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to know justice and know peace.
C'est pas ça nous devons, c'est pas ça nous chercher. Mais c'est ça nous va nous. A pas nous quitter colon, a pas nous mentir toujours. Yo tin ti gars c'est job, nous connaissons pas jambe. Yo fen quitter l'argent, pour nous mener la lutte. Avec quitter l'amour. Bébé petit n'a pas ici. Pour nous dans la vie. Mais nous pas jamais que me la couche souffrir. Oh Lord, pour qui c'est nous qui souffrir. I say,